My purpose at FLII is always to search for fund managers and founders within the impact space, especially that are dealing and creating positive impact in education and employability. So this is also a deal flow conference for me. Potencia is an impact fund that started over 20 years ago, so it's a very pioneer organization founded by Kelly Michel. Kelly also founded Artemisia, the first impact accelerator in Brazil, and co-founded Vox Capital, the first impact venture capital of LatAm. And I think her love for Brazil was important because she lived in Brazil for 5 years. But she also understood that she could scale her impact by having a broader strategy for funds and startups. So since 2011, we have been investing in other VC funds. And since 2017, we have been investing in startups. Right now, we have almost 50 funds spread around Latin America, the US, India, and Africa, and 26 companies that we invested so far. No, it's all Latin America. We have more companies in Brazil. We have 6 companies in Brazil. But summing the other countries in Latin America, we have around 7 or 8 investments like in Uruguay, Colombia, Chile, Mexico. So we have been in the region for a long time. Of course. I think one great example is Letrus. It's a startup that does artificial intelligence software for literacy. So they are used by private schools and public schools to help students not only correct their essays, but also give important data for the teachers to prepare the class. I think this is a really good example of an impact company that was able to attract impact investors and also traditional investors. So we were the ones leading the their seed round and their Series A. And now they just raised the Series B led by Crescera Capital in Brazil, but also with All Ventures participating on it, Positive Ventures, which is another impact fund. So it's a clear case of how an impact company with technology can attract all types of capital, right? So they are also partnering with Lehman Foundation. So they have been able to, combine traditional capital, grants, impact investing. And I think it's a good example for us. I think one of the things that made us focus on in Latin America is because it is an under-allocated capital region, right? It's under-allocated compared to the Southeast Asia, to even Middle East. So it's a region with a lot of social problems to be solved, social and environmental problems. It is a region full of creative founders, resourceful founders. They can do a lot with little input. And so what we see is a huge opportunity for growth and returns in the long term, because it's like no one is, seeing this potential. They are seeing, but not at times allocating capital to that. So we understand the region. We have a team that knows a lot about Latin America. I'm based in São Paulo. We have 2 people in the US, but one of them comes from a Mexican family. So we know a lot about the region, and we decided in the past 3 years to focus on LatAm. So we're not doing new investments in India or Africa. We're now focusing and doubling down in Latin America, because we believe that this is a region that can bring a lot of impact and returns. Yeah, it matured a lot, and I think Potencia was really catalytic, because now you can see Artemisia, you can see Vox Capital, and the first years, at least the 3 first years of each of these organizations were possible to happen because of Potencia, and we remain very strong partners with them. But we also relate to other impact accelerators like Quintessa, other funds like Positive Ventures. So we can see that in the past 10 years, the impact ecosystem in Brazil flourished, right? And when we talk to like the ancient people in the space, they all know Potencia. And it is interesting to see how this catalytic movement, how can I say, allowed Brazil to connect with international investors as well. So we do that as investors. We try to connect our portfolio fund managers and founders with international investors as well. And I think this is like the next step, right? We see in Brazil a lot of local funds, more than in other countries of Latin America. So right now, I think the next step is to have more collaboration among the countries in Latin America. Another reason for me to come to FLII is for us as Brazil to collaborate more with the other countries in the regions, and also be able to elaborate with international investors from the US. I would say first, I think the investors must go to founders and fund managers. We have to stop waiting for them to learn all English and go to the US and ask for money. Like if you want a diverse deal flow, you have to make the effort. You have to be proactive and make the effort. And that is what we try to do by creating the Potencia Fellowship. So we provided founders with English classes. We provided founders with connections because we know that 95% of the Brazilian population doesn't speak English, for example. And if we have this, how can I say, colonialist view where everyone has to come to us, then it's much more difficult for us to find good opportunities like rough diamonds that we need to find, right? And sometimes, or a lot of times, they will be, how can I say, undervalued. They will be cheap as assets to buy. So if we do that proactively, you will find a lot of good investments to make that doesn't necessarily come from alumni on Harvard or Stanford. So you have to really go forward and look for that.